Welcome to the Tabletop Gaming Guild show. We are all about the experiences and memories that playing board games with friends and family can create. Tonight, we're going to discuss reboot games, games that got the reboot, games that need the reboot, games that doesn't need the reboot. Before that, let's discuss quickly what we've been playing lately. As for myself, I don't have too much more new to report. This past week, we just got a couple more hands of the crew in here and there, and that was about it. We've already covered the crew over the last, 2 to 3 episodes, so I'm not going to talk too much more about it.
Yeah, the crew's a very solid game. It's like my battle line. It just comes back to the table over and over again, but, So I'll just go with me. I have one that was given to me by Evan that I reviewed, but I'll go to that one last. The first one was a good game, and it's a good kids game, and that's Turtle Splash. Turtle Splash is published by Lucky Duck Games, and in Turtle Splash, you're simply using dexterity to flick a turtle down a ramp, and you're trying to get him either in the pond or in the center of the pond. The closer you get him to the center of the pond, or if you get him in the center pond, you flip over 3. If he's in the ring, 2. And if he's on the slide, 1. And you're going to be able to flip over those memory match tiles, and you're trying to complete 3 rows of pictures. So the kids will move those along as they find them. Pretty fun game, pretty easy game. We've played it a lot, and they like it. The second game I played was Planted. Planted, I believe, is published by Buffalo Games. It has the most insane component quality ever of a $30 game. It is insane. It is a drafting game where you are trying to get resources and bonuses and tools to help grow your plants. And you get points for growing your plants, and the plants you have out, you get points for your bonus stuff that you put out. But it's pretty simple, really easy to teach game, and it's really fast. It takes about 30 minutes. But this $30 game comes with components that I would expect in like an $80 or $100 game. It has solid water droplets, not like a wooden thing, but solid plastic water droplets that are a full 3D water droplet. It has suns that are like these little disc suns with a little bump in the middle, like you would have a sunny side up egg. They have those for components. They have solid wood components for the green thumb, and they have super really, really nice cloth bags for all the components, and they're individually separated for you before you even get it and tied off. And it's just like, I don't know how they're making any money on the board game, period. It's either that or other people are doing something really wrong, because the components are amazing in it. The other one was Avalon Big Box. Avalon Big Box is a complete collection of everything Avalon. Now, if you don't remember the name Avalon, you might remember the name Resistance. They're the same game. Resistance is like a far-flung future where you have a bad group and you have a good group, and you're trying to complete missions, and the good group's trying to get so many 3 failures, and the good group's trying to get 3 successes. Avalon is just a Arthurian style version of it. Now there's a lot more stuff to it, and they did include every single expansion that was ever released for Resistance and Avalon in this big box. If you're going to play a social deduction game and you like that type of stuff, this is the one you're probably going to get. But I don't like social deduction games, but it was still really well made. My final game was a horrible game. And I don't like games like Exploding Kittens, and I understand people do like those, and this game might be right up their alley. In fact, this game actually gives you a little bit more choice, even though there's rolling in it. It gives you more choice than Exploding Kittens, and that is Corpse Cat. Corpse Cat, you try to not have your cat get asphyxiated from eating a rubber mouse, or getting stuck in a bottle and suffocating, and all these horrible things. But apparently, if you have 3 horrible things happen to him, like he suffocates in a bottle, chokes on a mouse, and gets hit by a car, then he's actually dead. And yet, nay, the game is not over for you yet. You can still be the horrible person who attacks everybody else or gets revenge for them killing your cat. But more often than not, you killed your own dang cat. Because at the beginning of the game, on your turn, you roll a die, and it tells you what you have to do. And it could be you have to play a card to yourself You have to play a card to an opponent. You have to discard a card, immediate play a card, all these sort of things. But every card you have is generally really bad. So you're either going to kill yourself or you're going to kill someone else. And there's very few cards that actually like help. I don't know if you want to call it healing. More like you get the cat out of the bottle, but he still got hit by the car and choked on a mouse. So I don't know. But you could give yourself the same malady, because if he gets hit by 3 cars, it doesn't matter. It has to be 3 different ways. But yeah, so the box is insane. It's solid wood box, so that's cool. But that's what I've been playing. Thank you, Evan, for the last one.
I was helping somebody on a Facebook group that was looking for people to review games, and I happened to volunteer us. After I got it, I was like, okay, well, James always likes to do reviews for games, so he won't say no, because we all know James doesn't know how to say no.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate problem. But it's reviewed. It goes up on the 28th, which incidentally I think might be the same day as this going up, but if not, pretty soon. So Evan, what have you been playing?
So the only thing I got to the table was Mech Pocket. So
yeah.
So that came from our friends at Imagine Forge Games, which is local to us here. They're just down in Pittsburgh. It's a guy that we actually met at the local con, and then gave us that copy of the game to review. So Mech Pocket is a super discount version of Mech Warrior. Now, usually when you distill down a game, it loses a lot of that flavor of the game. This didn't do that. It was a very small, pocketed version of Mech Warrior that you can play in a 2 foot by 2 foot area in probably about 30 minutes.
Oh,
you still can customize your mech based off of cards. You build out terrain using the card system that they have in their layout, and then you go. Damage is very clean. Rolling is very simple. There's not a lot of like extra add-ons or subtractions to the die like that Mech Warrior had. Very cleanly played. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to play it more. I thought it was a fantastic game. For what they're doing with it right now is just it's a you buy it and you print it. You get STLs for the mechs, for all your tokens in it, and you print and out all the cards. So what he did was really good, and I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, it looked really cool. Plus mechs. Can't go wrong with mechs.
You can never go wrong with mechs.
Well, there's one game. But you can't go wrong with mechs. All right, so Nathan, what have you been playing?
I have got nothing played this week, really.
That's not true. You played Oathsworn.
I did play a little tiny bit of Oathsworn on Sunday, but I got half a chapter in, so it's been a kind of a rough week.
Yeah, so this is your wah wah wah.
Yeah.
I do have to ask, Nathan. So in all your plays of Oathsworn, are you playing that single or are you playing that with a group?
I'm playing it with a small group.
Okay.
Yep.
It is designed for 4 players, so you essentially have to play it as if you had 4 players. If you have less than 4,
oh, so someone plays 2.
Yep, which ends up being me, which I don't mind.
Yeah,
I'm just more powerful and have more cool things to do.
You're gonna be like, I trade with myself. You can have the flaming sword this round. Yeah,
well, it's cooperative, so it doesn't matter.
Still, it's cool to have a flaming sword. So let's go ahead and jump right into our topic. This game is going to be games that we think deserve a reprint or redo, and games we think that shouldn't have had a reprint/redo. I will start it off, and then we'll go myself, Dan, Nathan, and then Evan. But my first game is a game that I really think needs to be reprinted/redone, and that's Spirium. I love Spirium. I think they could have expanded upon it a little bit. It's a game that is great. Could use an expansion on there, and they really need to just drop the Spirium thing on it. It's you're mining for coal or oil. That's what it is. Just make it that, and make that the theme. Not, oh, I found green shiny rocks that work exactly like coal. But I love Spirium. I think it's a really great game, and it has a lot of potential, and it really deserves that updating and re-release, and I think it would do well. But that's mine.
Yeah, it's that half-hearted sci-fi element. So like it's not quite work. It
It's
doesn't
not
quite
even
work.
like it's not even like there's not even a sci-fi thing on it. This like looks like the 1800s, a coal
The
mining
art
guy.
is
Or
the
1900s.
art is like Steam Tech, right?
Not even.
Kind of, not really.
I mean, it's like
It's like Victorian Steam Tech.
yeah, it's like Victorian, but there's no like it's just like slums and a guy with a pickaxe and like mining equipment. I mean, it's like there's and then green. There's green rocks for some reason is what you get because the coal's green now. Yeah. It's like someone was like, no one wants to play a game where you get coal. That's stupid. Let's make them green rocks. Okay, you want to change it at all? Nope, not at all. They're just going to get green rocks instead of coal. That's it. Didn't change nothing.
Apparently, they've never played Brass.
Well, Brass is actually a far more complicated game than Spirium, which is one other thing that made it wonderful. Was it was not a complicated game. It was a simple game. It was easy to teach, and you could get into it real quick. So.
Yeah, having played this game, I will echo James' sentiment. This game needs either a reprint, a retheme, or an expansion.
Yes. Well, segueing right into you, what would be your game? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, a game that needs an expansion.
You could do either way. It
something.
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
game that
we'll
needs
start
to-
with needs. We'll start with needs
Okay.
since you started with needs. So, I know that Concordia has seen a lot of content over the years, mostly just new maps. Some have introduced some new like mechanics, but like I
Venus,
feel
yeah.
like a fresh coat of paint on Concordia, like a retheme, would really help it in like the modern market. Like I don't know where or when you want to set that game rather than in ancient Rome / the Mediterranean, which is the boringest setting ever. But like anywhere else would be better.
I mean, in like if you boil it down, you're basically just creating connections that you're pulling resources from. So
yeah, like
you could
if you wanted to set it
whatever.
in like in space, for example, you'd have to like change the map. You'd have to change the routes because like you no longer maybe you still do have two different kinds of colonists with two different kinds of routes or not. Who knows?
You could be mainly
all the resources are different, but like
Yeah.
that's sort of like that's the bare minimum that I would be looking for
Yeah,
in terms of Concordia's new coat of paint.
You could have the instead of the locations, that could be planets, and you could have regions of space as the things, and then you can have shipping lines, which are the ones you can move your normal person past. But if you want to go outside those shipping lines, you can use a starship where the ship used to be. We could do this. That's time for Kickstarter. Let's fire it up.
That's a great idea, and I just can't get over the fact that when they did actually do a reprint a long time ago at this point, mainly they just redid the cover, and they went from a terribly boring cover to a slightly boring cover.
I mean, okay, so I guess this is a twofer because Concordia is also a game that didn't need a reboot. It got a reboot in the form of Concordia Venus, which included the team version of the game, right, and another map. And you know, I'm not going to begrudge more maps for Concordia, but
Right.
like the team version of the game, that's like stretching it.
Yeah. I have not played that one yet, and I've not played Salsa either, which unfortunately doesn't have to do with salsa. It has to do with salt. So that was my chagrin.
Salsa's good.
Salsa's
Salsa's good.
Didn't work.
Yeah. I played with and without both salt and forum tiles. Those are the two modules that appear in that expansion. They're both good.
Yeah, I definitely
I've played
need to
with
play
one,
that.
the other, and both. So
All right, Nathan, what's yours?
So I picked a game that's, not terribly hard to find, but it is not easy to find. It's not always available. And that's The Downfall of Pompeii.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a really excellent game where that happens in 3 phases. So first, you are populating the board. Then you have the first signs of the volcano, so that now everybody's flooding into town to escape from the volcano. And then the volcano fully erupts and lava's coming in, and you're trying to get back out of town and escape before the lava engulfs all your people. And you get to throw you get to kind of control where the lava is going on your turn, so you can kind of direct it towards your opponents, and you get to throw their pieces in the volcano. There's a little plastic volcano. So it's a really cool, fun game. It looks old because it is somewhat old at this point. It also has a few cumbersome elements, especially like with the setup, because you have to divide the deck into 5 piles, separate the cards in a certain way. It takes like 5-10 minutes just to kind of set up the deck.
Yeah, I think it definitely, even if you just redid the art, brighten it up a little bit, up the components a little bit, it'd be amazing. But I like it just as is. It's a good game. It's a fun game. It's really fun burning your opponent's characters in the hot lava.
Yeah, you have to scream a little bit when you throw the people in the volcano.
Yeah, not only do you throw lava on top of them, but you pick them up afterwards and you throw them in the volcano itself too. So it's like you have to double dip a little bit. So,
or you can completely surround them with lava and then they just suffocate.
Yeah,
it's not really the nicest game.
No, it's fun though. I like it.
Sounds a little grim.
It is, unless you're the people that figured out how to escape properly. It's like Survive.
Yeah.
All right. So, Evan, what is yours?
So the one that I'm going to mention, it's new-ish. So Champions of Midgar. So in Champions of Midgar, you are a Viking clan vying to become the new Jarl. The first portion of the game, you're collecting resources, collecting Vikings, pledging them to vanquish trolls and Draugr and voyage out to sea to defeat monsters. And then you have the expansion, which introduces the Dark Mountains, which is a alternate to going to the sea. And then you also have the Valhalla expansion, which as you lose your Vikings, you can actually get other things with set collection based off of what dies. And all really good implementations into the game. The expansions definitely are great additions to the game, and it makes the game so much better by each one. They did a reprint of it a couple years ago where they put everything all into one Kickstarter with a big box that you can put everything in it, and they got a nice neoprene mat and everything with that. And after that Kickstarter happened and they sold off all the stock there's been very, very little of the base or the expansions or the mats or anything that is available for print. What they have been doing though is little tiny micro expansions where, for $15 you can get these 3 tiles and this cool thing. And you see those every 6 months or so that will pop up. The game really doesn't need an update because it still plays really, really well. It's really, still really well thought of, but it just needs another reprinting with some of these little extras, expansions, and just make the game available again.
Arguably, you can say that they did redo it and reprint it with Reavers of Midgard.
You could say that, but I don't think that they would go that way, because if you go to the original Kickstarter page for Reavers of Midgar, they flat out say a sequel to. So
yeah, it's a very different game.
Not quite as good as Champions of Midgard, but
I like it better.
We can all have our wrong opinions, apparently.
James has a wrong opinion right now.
Well, of course, I've only played Champions once, so I can't really fairly judge it yet.
So while Dan is frozen in time and space, I'm going to do another mention of a good reprint that was done. So this is a game that was really well done, and that is going to be Raiders of Scythia. That game is basically a distillation and taking all the great stuff from Raiders of the North Sea and putting it into a single game. So Raiders of the North Sea has some great stuff with it, and the expansions make it better and better as it goes. And I really like when they added in where your crew members get damaged and injured, because when that happens, you have to cycle through your crew. In the base game of Raiders of the North Sea, you can have that perfect crew and have an advantage over other players. But with that expansion, it corrected that and had it so you can't have the perfect crew. Well, you can have it for a little bit, but they're going to die. So you need new people. And it also helped push getting those crew members in there and maybe not caring so much when you sacrifice them. Well, Raiders of Scythia puts that in the base game. They made ratings in the goals tiles separate and simple. So you have to so you can't just spam the base locations to, give gifts to the Jarl. You have to go down, raid places that unlocks these tokens that you can, or these little tokens that have goals on them that you can meet and get points that way too. So it's sort of being like, I can't just stay at home and spam these points. I go down through, I get damage and the crew members have really interesting powers that work off each other. And one of the expansions added like a leader that you have that stays around. This already has it in it. So basically all the really cool stuff from Raiders of the North Sea into one box. And that's Raiders of Scythia. And I think they did a really, really, really good job. And I prefer that over Raiders of the North Sea, even though Raiders of the North Sea is Vikings and the other one's not. So I guess we'll skip Dan for now. And I know neither of you have played Raiders of the Scythia yet, right?
I really want to play that here.
Oh, Raiders of Scythia is an amazing game. And Dan's back!
So it's basically Land Vikings.
Not well, sure. But it is a great
adjacent.
Game. Great game. So let's go ahead and jump to Dan now that he's freshly back.
Hey, I'm back. All right. Are we still on games that need a reboot?
Yeah, you haven't been long. You haven't been gone that long. I just talked about Raiders of Scythia while you're gone. That's it.
We didn't catch anything you said, though.
That's fine.
Except for needing to sneeze. That did happen.
So the next game that I will mention is Alexander Fisher design Blackout Hong Kong. Blackout Hong Kong. I've played this a couple times. It's got a cool hand building mechanism, similar in a way to Concordia. And there's also, as you add these cards to your hand, you can also like put down a cube on the board, and there's an area control thing going on there as well. So like I've played this more than 6 or 7 times, I think. And it mechanically, it feels fun to play, but it also feels like it's the most awkward game ever.
Well, that's not good at all.
I don't know how to describe it other than that. Like the game comes to a close and I'm like, oh man, I only secured 2 districts out of like, we like the 2 of us only secured 2 districts out of like the 8 that are on the table. And like, I keep on trying to find different ways to try to ramp up that game and do more in it. And I haven't found one yet. Maybe that's just me. But like, this is a game that I feel could use some modernization / tweaking of the rules to make it more in line with like, I don't know, just a faster pace or a better game arc.
Yeah. But you think it has the bones to do it?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that's a cool pick. I still never played that game, so I have to play it at least once sometime. All right, how about you, Nathan? Oh, Nathan is on mute, and I cannot hear him.
The next one I want to talk about is a classic game that did get a reboot 7 years ago, but the reboot is no longer available. It's not currently available anywhere. The original game you can actually still get at Target for $200. But that's El Grande. Now, El Grande is often referred to as like the father of area control or majority control, whatever. And it's a really solid example of that. It is probably one of the cleanest examples of that. It also does have the card mechanic I really enjoy of once you play a card, you don't get that card back, and you use. There are this big box that came out 7 years ago, had a lot of nice little expansions that will kind of tweak the main mechanic of this game, so you can play it a few different ways. So you can have, you have set cards, or you can have cards that you like basically draft among your draft out of the cards you self draft. Really, you get a selection of cards, you pick which ones you want before the game starts. Nobody knows exactly what you have, but they know what your choices were. And so there's a few variations on that. But the big thing of this, if they do reboot it, they have to make it look a lot nicer. This has a really hideous board. It's all sepia tones. It's kind of like
Castles of
kind of like
Burgundy.
it's looking like trying to look like an old map, but not really succeeding at that.
Yeah, it just looks faded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually never played that game. Another game that I need to play that I've never played. All right, how about you, Evan?
I'm hurt.
In your soul, even.
Deep,
That's
deep
like,
down. Deep.
I'm kidding.
So another one here that I think needs a... Oh, Dan left again.
This is going to be fun for changing the names around every time. So I hope the audience appreciate my superior editing skills of moving names around.
Everyone, hooray for James.
Woo! All right. So what you got?
So one game that needs a reboot, I think, is Spartacus, a game of blood and treachery. Mm-hmm. So that came out in about 2013, right when the Stars show was on, and it was kind of based around that. A lot of the art for the game itself comes directly from the show or based off of that. And in the game, you are building a gladiatorial school, and you're trying to get the most fame to be the most well-known house in Rome. Now, there's 3 phases into the game. You have the intrigue phase, where you're going to be doing plotting and playing cards against each other, raising money. And then there's going to be the market phase, which is where you're going to buy and sell gladiators, equip them with stuff, and all sorts of stuff like that. And then the third phase is you actually get to use your gladiator in miniature form and do the gladiatorial combats out on the table.
Yeah, the fun stuff.
And like you can bet onto the games and everything like that. So the game's really cool. It plays really well. It does play. It plays a little long. The game is very unforgiving. If someone gets out ahead of everyone else and manages to grab a good gladiator, it can be very, very hard to stop them. So the balance in it is not very good. But overall, it's a pretty good game. I would love to see that kind of, with a fresh coat of paint on it, redone. They did do a re-implementation of it a couple years after that came out. X-Men Mutant Revolution. Never got to play that one, but from what I heard is WizKids got a hold of it and did the most lazy way ever to re-implement everything.
Takes a game and doesn't really upgrade it at all and just slaps an
I
IP on it.
What? Super shocking. Yeah.
How would that ever happen?
But ever since then, like the game itself or anything hasn't been touched, and I think it'd be a very good one to do something with.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Another game I haven't played. So this is the game that I thankfully Peter's not here tonight. That I don't think needs to be reprinted in the way that it's being reprinted at all. It's like a waste of time. And that is just trying to put new paint on Betrayal House on the Hill. All they're doing is they're putting new art on the outside. They didn't change the game at all. It's gone through 3 versions. It's the same dang game in there, same broken everything. I would rather them do one of two things. Not shove a Scooby-Doo theme on it, not change the game too. That makes less sense. The thing would be to do is go through and fix the scenarios that fans have reported as broken. Clarify rules in the rule book while you're going through the haunts. So things that people get stuck on, explain it a little better. So when the person that gets the haunt doesn't have to ask people how the haunt actually functions, that they're not supposed to say what's happening. Or make it app assisted. So take the admin work out and make it app assisted. You could still have the book in there if you really, really want, but you could have an app on there that takes care of everything for you. So it'll tell you when the haunt happens, and it'll tell that player exactly how to handle it, and it'll help handle the mechanics as you go along. So I think that would be the more appropriate way of reprinting this game. I don't know if I think I'm a little, sullied by the fact that they're just changing the art on the outside and acting like it's like the new version of it. It's the same game. Just they made the outside art slightly better.
They do also need to look at reducing the randomness of when the haunt happens, because it could happen super quick, or it could happen a long time into the game. And if it happens a long time in the game, depending on what haunt actually happens, that could mean, one side doesn't have a chance because the other side's geared up way too much.
Yeah, they need to actually work on streamline the game, making things better in it instead of just trying to trick people into purchasing it. Is basically what I feel that they're doing. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. So let's go ahead and jump to Nathan.
So I'll stick on this theme of games that got reprinted that shouldn't have been reprinted the way they were. And this is a game that was reprinted by Hasbro, and they just took it exactly as is. They didn't improve it anyway. They didn't clean it up.
Game? They're all the way.
Well, that's Hero Quest.
Yeah, and soon to be Hero Escape too.
Yeah. So Hero Quest is a great Evan obviously had that. Is a great classic game that was a little clunky, was good for its time, but definitely needed to be modernized and improved. They didn't do any of that. They just reprinted it.
Yeah, I was super hoping Restoration Games would get it.
Yes, it would do an excellent job with this game.
That would have been amazing. They do a good job with that stuff. I mean, the games, people don't understand how bad the games that they actually redid were. Like Fireball Island was a horrible game. A horrible, horrible game. It was a roll and move. It was just not good. It was just fun because, you have fireballs and stuff and crazy stuff. And they did a really great job modernizing it, but giving it the same sort of feel. So, man, that would have been awesome if they got Hero Quest.
Yeah, Hero Quest was a great game for 1995.
Yes, I loved playing that game in 1995. Will I play it again? No, I got Gloomhaven, Descent Journey into the Dark, literally any other game.
Yeah, I have my original copy. I will play it once in a great while just for nostalgia. And I was super excited when I saw that they were going to reprint it. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And then I saw that they did literally nothing to it. And I'm like, well, I could get the expansions that are normally $400.
Yeah. Yeah, and then one of them wasn't available in the United States, and they retranslated it too, I believe.
That was the only redeeming factor to it was the, 3 expansions, I think? 3 or 4.
Two of them were sold in the US.
Yeah, you could finally get them now without paying, your firstborn.
Yeah.
But is it really worth it for a game that is...
Well, with the worst text in the world in it.
For people who aren't familiar with Hero Quest, it's a classic dungeon crawl, but it had roll and move elements, and that was one of the biggest flaws, I believe, in that you can get into a fight and somebody might be way behind, and then they just keep rolling low, and then it takes them 6 turns to catch up, and they're just
better
not doing
hope
anything.
You're the
that
dwarf
time.
with 1 die to roll to move.
It was the best. Like, we're gonna go this way. The wizard rolls a 12. The barbarian rolls a 3. The wizard dies.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty much how it worked. You can't actually lose. I don't think you can lose if you stay together in that game.
Right.
The only way I found is the bad guy to beat anyone is having them separate. And if they do that, like the wizard, like one guy shoots forward, I'm just like everything in the one person.
If you can get everyone to survive the first scenario, then you're good, because the first scenario is a little rough to start because you have like just base equipment and you're not that good at all. If you can make it through that, you're fine. As long as you stay together.
Yeah, as long as you stay together. And some of those doors you don't want to open. And the first one is like, can I close it? Nope. Run. Yeah, that's a good one. Your request is a good one. How about you? Oh, one rant real quick. So you have the HeroScape one on there. I saw that. They want like $250 for the base game or something super crazy. And it's like $80 shipping. And I'm like, $340 by the time you're all said and done is like insane. And they're not even painted. And
here's my thing.
Go ahead.
With that too. So Hasbro's doing that. Great. They never gave up the rights to that. So they're going to reprint it, and they know that they're going to get all this money from everyone. They're using their own Kickstarter platform. They're not even just releasing it and then like they're crowdsourcing it too, which just feels so weird for such a large company.
Yeah, and then like you get those people that they're paying to jump on every platform being like, hey guys, I really need you guys to back this game because like I have tons of nostalgia and they will only reprint it if they have 6,000 people back it. And I'm like, good job, Hasbro. That's not creepy in any way.
Yeah. Yeah, Hasbro, why are you using a Kickstarter-esque platform when we know you could just reprint it and people would buy it?
Yeah, last time I checked, they made more money than the entire hobby board gaming community combined. So if you, cut out Asmodee and Simon, but like they have so much money. Just they don't even need to do it. They could just print the game if they wanted to and have no problems. They could print the game and have painted miniatures and have no problem. They own the factories that do this stuff. It's not expensive for them. This is just,
and they know they have the following to do it.
I don't know that it's made its numbers. I have to check. I don't know. I just don't. Nah, I'm not backing any of their stuff. But people do, so that's their choice. All right, Evan. Sorry.
Oh, before we go on, I see Dan sent us a message that he will not be rejoining us.
I saw that.
So
rest in
just
peace,
for we will miss you.
We will miss you.
For any of our viewers that are wondering what happened to Dan,
he got killed by a digital, outage with the internet type.
Will Dan come back? Stay tuned next week.
Dan, you've returned from the grave. All right. So what you got, Evan?
So another game is that I think needs a reprint, reimplementation, something. Game I really, really enjoyed. I've talked about it before on here. Ex Libris. So at Ex Libris, you are in a town, and the town is looking to have a new position of Grand Librarian open up. You're all rare book collectors, and you must go and try and present the most prestigious library to the mayor to get this position. So you're going to go to these different locations that will appear randomly throughout the game, collect books, and you're going to put them in alphabetical order. You have to set the books into your shelf, and you have certain rules to follow the shelf, and there's different categories for books. And you're going to score at the end, and it's a really fun game. Asymmetric powers for everybody. I really, really enjoy it. My wife and I, we've played it quite a few times. The game came out to some good fanfare. It was very popular for a year, completely disappeared after that.
Yeah.
And it was such a good game that I think it would do well if it got reprinted. There's some things that could definitely get tightened up into the game with it. And you could even reskin it super easy, as we've talked about before. You could put expansions with this. There's so much you could do with this game. And Renegade Games was the one that put it out, and why they never did anything with it, I have no idea.
Well, it can never be reprinted because Peter's not here to also second your endorsement. Being
I don't think Peter ever played this.
Probably not, but he's a librarian, and therefore he would know if it feels like being a librarian.
We need to get Peter to play that.
Yeah, you do. That would be really fun. We should do a playthrough with Peter.
Then he gets mad. He's like, why am I playing games that feel like I'm working?
I don't want to put books on shelves. I do that at work. Haha.
But I think that this one would actually do really well with something, whether it's a re-implementation, just a reskin, or just a straight reprint. Something, I think it would do pretty well, and I think it needs it.
Yeah. So for me, there's like tons and tons of games that I can mention, like Glory to Rome. Can never be reprinted, but I really would like to see that come back. And other games similar. I mean, Mansion to Madness is a good example of a great, like super well done reprint of a game. They didn't just reprint the game and have a whole bunch of miniatures. They reprinted the game and took all the time to integrate an app with it that offloaded everything for you onto the app and made the game amazing. That is really what I think, like, instead of reprinting or stuff, especially games that are over 10 years old, they really need to streamline them, do something to modernize them a little bit and make them fit a little bit more. Even with Ex Libris, though, they probably clean it up a bit, streamline it a little bit, maybe throw like what you would consider an expansion into the base game and then put a couple expansions for it. That sort of thing. I think is really where all this stuff needs to go to. And stop reprinting Betrayal House on the Hill if you're not going to do anything. Just make it look the same if you're going to reprint it forever. But that's so mine, I guess, is Mansions of Madness, and that's probably my last one. I mean, I could mention a ton, but that's I think the example of one of the best redone second editions ever. And Fury of Dracula could learn from it. And fix that dang deck.
And use one
the rule book.
Set of words.
One set of words.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make Nathan happy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, Nathan, what you got?
So I'll go on one that I didn't think needed to be reprinted that you're probably going to disagree with me on. That's Takedo. Now, Takedo is, in my opinion, a meh game. There's not really much that goes on this game. You are moving along a track and gathering set collection, and it's just an underwhelming game in my opinion.
It is not an underwhelming game. You play as a farmer going around and you're raising bamboo, and that pesky little panda comes over and eats your bamboo unless you want him to, because you can get points from it.
Whoa. You're talking about Takenoko.
Oh, dang it. Okay, yeah, Takedo, who cares? Oh, okay, yeah, Takedo, blah, Takenoko, amazing. I thought you were talking about the one with the
Takenoko is
panda.
a good game.
The one where
Japanese
you're going along
T-words.
like a rondelle there, and you're moving and getting pictures of thingies. Who cares? Really,
you're a tourist in Japan going down a walking path.
Yeah, like meh.
Meh.
I don't need that shenanigans. I need pandas eating bamboo. Farmers growing it and putting down territories, and I need to get the one with the giant panda that they did the reprint for. It was like 6 inches tall. Man, wonder if Evan's running to go get Takedo. It's like, you guys have offended me. I am out of here.
And And I 100% agree. You mentioned Glory to Rome. That should be reprinted. I know it can't. Really, any Carl Chuddik games. It's like Innovation. He did Matai, which is available still, but most of his games he doesn't reprint ever.
Now, I mean, Ty and I, 51st State, which is one I know Dan wanted to mention. They have the reprinting on that. The second edition or master edition of 51st State is much, much, much better than the original 51st State, which was good. And that has the bones of Glory to Rome.
Yeah.
Now, I know, like, 51st State is going to be like the race mechanic where you're trying to be the first to, like, 21 or whatever. I don't remember what point number it is. 25 or something like that. I still like Imperial Settlers better, and I haven't played the new version of Imperial Settlers, which I can't remember the name of it.
Empires of the North.
I really want to play that one because they say that one's even better. I sort of like Imperial Settlers better than 51st State. I know that's not like what everyone else necessarily feels, but I just like the round ending the game instead of the race for points. And I understand that the Glory to Rome is all about explosive endings, and 51st State has explosive endings, and Imperial Settlers is stable. It doesn't really have explosive endings. It just, you're building an engine, you're destroying an engine, someone else's engine, and that's it. But, you know, so maybe I don't care if 51st or if Glory to Rome gets reprinted if I don't like that explosive part. But I don't know. Glory to Rome's a little different. It's just broken from the beginning.
Well, yeah, it's got a randomness to it, but it's a good sense of randomness where it's like you can kind of work with it, and you can, you know, have like this really kind of power trip elements where it's like, oh, suddenly I can do this.
Yeah, it's fun. I loved playing it. This is never going to be reprinted out. I might do that print and play. Dan has a copy currently until I visit him. So he has one. But yeah, that's a good one. How about you, Evan?
So one that I'm going to mention, and I'm on the fence whether it needs a reprint, a retheme,
let's tear into this
or
one.
if it's fine the way it is. Lords of Waterdeep.
Oh no, that needs reprinted. That needs cleaned up.
So I can see the school of thought where it needs a reprint or a re-implementation of it. But overall, the game's just good as it is, and I think that it could stand still for a little while longer without needing one. And that's why I'm kind of on both sides of that one. I don't know which way I feel with that.
I strongly think that it needs, like, very strongly think that they need to correct the board. So having those extra boards with the expansions, Scoundrels of Skullport, is awkward and makes it bigger than it needs to be. So I think that if they did anything, they should make like a neoprene mat or a larger board that has all those spaces already on it and sort of incorporate that into the game itself, like have a big box version. That would be fine.
I could see that because a lot of my plays with it are on the digital port. So, everything's already kind of all there on there at one time. I don't play a lot of the physical version of it, so I could see that.
The other thing is the card art doesn't match the board art. So the card art is more vibrant and very thematic. And the board is like this mono brown glob of junk that is a city of Waterdeep. And I really think that they should have the art match and have it more vibrant. So let's get into the big problem of the game that I think is the board. It just needs not only have all that stuff in there, but brightened up a little bit, have it match the really cool art that's on the intrigue cards and the quest cards, and maybe even do some fun things on the board too, like you have on there's like little italics you have on you ever read those on the quest and the tree cut? Those are amazing. They should do that with the locations they should do fun stuff with the board too. And maybe change up some of the components, like the gems are a little weird. They could upgrade those. Change the cubes to actual meeples so that they look like you're collecting clerics and warriors instead of collecting cubes and controlling that resource to turn cubes in for a quest. So hopefully I push you over the fence a little bit, that it just needs touched up.
The other big thing is, like, as you were saying, the board, it could also have, actual art of the buildings that are supposed to be represented there. It's like, because you're talking about D&D, there is tons of art they can pull from. It's like, why have just like generic streets that don't look like anything?
It looks like a Where's Waldo board without the people.
But if they updated the board, would that be enough to get people to buy a new edition?
I think so. I think a lot of your fans of Lords of Waterdeep, like you can tell, like they sell aftermarket neoprene mats that have everything I'm talking about, and those are very popular. So I think that if you did that and you like upgraded the components a little bit, they would get a lot of people. I think it would be a very successful Kickstarter. I mean, for a game that they literally do nothing for and reprint constantly as an evergreen title. Yeah.
I mean, basically they could sell it as a deluxe version.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would buy it. I already have everything, but I would buy it.
Absolutely.
What would you think, Evan? If they put a deluxeified version on Kickstarter or GameFound, would you back it?
Probably not.
Really?
Just because I know of all the people that I play games with, which you guys are a good portion of it, there's at least 3 copies of it.
Right, that's the other thing. Like, so many copies. Everyone has a copy of it.
And I know that you guys there would be at least 2 copies of it that would be bought there.
Yeah.
Plus, I already have the digital port for it.
Okay.
I don't think I would. There would not be enough there for me to want to buy it because it's available enough to me that way.
Yeah. That was a good pick, though.
But, yeah, and I'm definitely not doing the majority of that because I don't think everyone's going to have that many copies readily available to them.
I don't know. I mean, you should have been here for SibCon. There were so many readily available copies of that game. Like, everyone had one. They're like, weren't even in the tournament, and they were like, here, I have a copy of Lords of Waterdeep. I'm like, you were just carrying that around?
And you were worried you weren't going to have enough.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have a problem with having enough. But, yeah, so, Nathan, do you have any more games that you feel strongly about?
I guess I could talk about one more. I debated whether to talk about it because nobody knows about this other than the people who watch this podcast.
Is it Roadkill?
No,
okay.
No. It's not that bad. No, I wanted to talk about Ming.
Okay, yeah.
Now, Ming is a game I grew up with, and so there's a lot of nostalgia for me, so that's a big part of it. But it's also a game that was briefly available in the 80s and 90s, has not been available since. And this is a card game that's very loosely based on Mahjong. And it does it in a way where technically you can gamble with it, but you don't. It isn't completely unnecessary. It's still just as much fun without having to get the gambling element involved. And you're basically playing cards and trying to make a certain sets, but it's not like the simple, oh, you need everything to be in pairs. No, you need certain combinations of sets. So like you could go for something like full runs, or you can go for all your cards being under 5 or lower. So it's kind of odd, and it takes a little bit to learn the different full sets. But once you do, it's actually quite fun. And it also has the element where you can play with anybody because it's always fun to go out and you don't necessarily get points every time you go out, but it's still fun. And then then once you get better at the game, you're thinking about, okay, holding off on going out until you get a fair amount of points. And unfortunately, though, if somebody goes out first, you don't get any points at all. But if you do play your cards right, no pun intended, you can actually get enough points to win the game because you go to 500 points, and a lot of times you only get like 5-10 points. You can get enough points to win the game in one can.
Yeah, it's true. It's a really fun game. I did enjoy playing that a lot. And I have like 3 or 4 copies over there, so
It takes a little bit to get used to learn those sets, but other than that, it's a really good game.
mainly Nothing Connects is the worst, but yeah.
Oh yeah, Nothing Connects is where you literally cannot make any sets. You have to have a certain. You have to have like 3 numbers between each, so you can only have like 1, 4, and like 8. And you can never pick up cards because normally when someone plays a card, you can call, say, I'm making a set with this, and pick up and lay that down, and progress faster that way. But if Nothing Connects, you can't. You just
Until
have
you
to wait
do
till your turn.
The end thing, yeah.
Yeah, you just have to wait till your turn to draw a card. But if people are calling, picking up things people are put down, you may not even get a turn.
Yeah. It's a fun game. Evan should play. So, Evan, do you have any more?
So I have one last one I'm going to talk about, and the special reason why I'm going to talk about it. And it's a game that doesn't need any more reboots, reskins, rethemes. And that's going to be Monopoly.
Or Flux,
So,
but yeah.
So the reason I'm mentioning Monopoly is because they are coming out with a Monopoly edition, which all of the deeds that you will buy are the different Monopoly versions out there. So we have come to that point in Monopoly, and if you've watched our IP and games, you know my opinion on like where we can stick IPs on some of these games, and where it does have a place, you know, in my opinion, that. But have we really gone to that point now that we are making a Monopoly version of all the Monopoly games?
Apparently so. And Monopoly is a very super old game that's just crusty.
We could just say Hasbro should stop reprinting.
Hasbro, you're not allowed to make games anymore.
And as we mentioned, we're actually talking about Monopoly, not D&D Monopoly. So there you go, Peter. We're not.
Yeah.
Or are we?
D&D is getting a new edition soon.
They did make a D&D Monopoly, I believe.
There was a Monopoly for everything.
Yeah. Or an Oloppy for everything. All right. So I have a fun game for you guys to play. This game, I always love throwing games out like this because, you know, I just like seeing how your guys' minds work and how fast you can think. So,
or they don't work.
So you're going to have 2 minutes to retheme a game for me. And while I throw out these names, I'll give you a break after Evan finishes because it'll be Nathan then Evan. And you can throw a game out at me and I'll have 2 minutes to talk about it. So someone else has to have a stopwatch for this part. So I'm going to throw out a game and you're going to need to retheme it and hopefully for bonus points, make it better. So what would you update in this game to make it a better game? And you can't say, well, I would just throw everything out. It has to feel like the same game, but something better in it. So this is going to be hard. And it's going to be fun, I hope. So Nathan sees the bus coming. It's coming closer. It's coming closer.
Beep, beep.
And we're going to get ready. And actually, I'll start. As soon as you start speaking, the timer starts. So Nathan, you have to retheme. And I'm only going to give you about 30 seconds to think. You have to retheme Mousetrap.
Okay. So Mousetrap is basically a massive Rube Goldberg device. So basically, you're trying to compete to see who can make the nicest chain of events. So you can retheme this in a lot of ways. And I think it would be really interesting as a way of teaching programming. So you could basically have people slot in little sections of codes and, have those codes chained together in a way that makes a smaller program. And then those programs can be chained together to make a larger program and then run that little program. So you could have maybe an app attached to this as well to see who builds the best program at the end. And so you can kind of have an app integrated with cards. So you can draw cards to see different types of programs, play them. The app recognizes the card, says, okay, you're slotting this in here. So this is how this is going to work.
All right. That was 1 minute. So that was, there you go. So you have rethemed Mousetrap into a programming game where you have to slot in different functions to create a specific outcome. So that's interesting as a teaching game. All right. So Evan, you see that train coming. You see the train coming, and you have to retheme Clue.
So I think that if you would take Clue and change it as opposed to trying to find the where, just the means, and the person, and move it more into a direction of a hidden trader style game, I think that it would be a lot better, because when you play that game, you could be trying to solve the mystery of I did it, but I didn't know I did it, which is always the weirdest way to solve the game. Now, if you were to play it with the hidden trader kind of style, with even like a player elimination, since you're already a murderer, to eliminate other people also, it's going to add some more player interactions. But you also still have some kind of solving the mystery also by having to piece together the whodunit part of it also. I think that would probably be the best way to do it. Plus, also, don't make the hallways so stinking big in the mansion.
And roll and move.
Roll and move. I hate roll and move. I think that would probably be what I would do.
All right, well, you're at 1 minute, 14 seconds, so slightly longer. So basically, you took Clue and made it Clue, but you removed the roll and move, and you made a hidden trader, which I believe in Clue, if you guess wrong, you die, right? Is that right? I think I'm right.
Yep. You just lose, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so, yeah, I do like that idea of having someone know they're the killer and be like, yeah, it's you.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Like, all right, I'm Mr. Green, and it was me that did it, I think.
It was me the whole time. I even surprised myself. I thought it was the butler. All right. So do either of you have a game for me that is diabolical and evil?
So
I think I do, unless you got a good one, Nathan.
I'm debating whether we should go with something like difficult, something like maybe like chess.
Oh, that's hard.
I think I got one, though, that is in the vein of what he's given us, but would be hard.
Or we could try to make him retheme something he really loves that doesn't need to be rethemed, like Mansions of Madness. But what was your idea?
Guess Who?
Okay.
You know what? I don't even know how to play Guess Who. Is that the one where you have the
yeah,
you knock the people down, or how do you play?
Yeah,
Guess
you have
Who
all
first?
these faces, and then you have to give them a hint. I'll be asked a question, and they can say yes or no, and then that's.
Does someone know who it is?
Yeah, so you have the picture of the person that they're trying to guess, and then you have to ask questions, yes or no questions about it. And as you ask the questions, you have to knock down the people as you eliminate them.
So it's like 21 questions or something like that?
Yeah, but the other person's doing the same thing for you, so you're taking turns.
Oh, you do each have people then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
this might be too easy because there is one already.
Probably.
But we can go with it. See if I don't know if he's thought of it. But
all right. Do you either have your timer?
I got it ready.
All right. So I'm going to retheme Guess Who. Basically, now what we're going to do is I'm going to offload it to an app. So you don't actually have a person doing it. You're going to have as many players as you want. It doesn't have to be 2. It can be like 100 people. And they're all trying to basically do profiling to figure out who the person is they're talking about. And the fastest person to figure that out will win. As you go through the game, every person that they can eliminate and they're correct will get knocked down. However, if a person guesses incorrectly, they will lose points and maybe skip their turn or whatever. I don't know. It's horrible life in these old games. So there's going to be a lot of having to accurately determine who isn't it to narrow it down to who is. And like I said, the fastest person to do it will win. And since it's app-based, other people won't be able to see which ones you've eliminated out. And the person with the best score at the end is going to be the one that had the least incorrect selections and so on. So that's basically my re-implementation of Guess Who, an app-based thing.
So
It's a video game now,
So-
apparently. Mine's awful.
app-based Guess Who?
App-based Guess Who, where speed matters. And I
Starting
didn't really
soon.
think of it, like if you guess eliminate the wrong person, you actually found the person, right? But
Yeah.
So obviously mine was horrible.
Yeah, and you had 15 seconds left. But the thing that I realized is this is basically rethemed by Codenames. Codenames does almost the same thing, but with words, but makes it actually a good game.
Yeah, I'll give it that. Codenames.
There's also another kids game, and I was trying to remember the name of with a fox, something fox in the title, but basically they have a special little board that has a transparent element that you slide the cards in to reveal, this character doesn't have a hat, or this character doesn't have a scarf or something like that. And so that's a pretty good it's not quite the same thing, but it's kind of the same concept, and it's a very good game for kids. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. You have it though, James.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Concept for Kids. We've played that a bunch already. Yeah, in Concept for Kids, you have these really cool...
No, not Concept for Kids. The one, the Fox one that...
Outfoxed.
Yeah.
But Concept for the Kids is about the same idea, too. You're basically playing that game, and you're putting these little squares on, like, traits to get them to guess the animal. But, yeah. Concept for Kids pretty cool. So, at the end of the game, I got 10 sadness points. Nathan got 100 My Little Pony points, and Evan got 100 Colonel Mustard points. And that is the ending of this game.
And I totally was not sucking up by doing programming.
Yeah, no, that's why he got 100 My Little Pony points, because that's almost as good as sadness points. And everyone likes Colonel Mustard with a pipe wrench. Where is it? Colonel Mustard with a pipe wrench in the library?
Conservatory.
Yes. So, I hope everyone liked this show. We talked about our games that we thought should be reprinted and not reprinted. If you have any games that you feel have been reprinted too much, or they messed up the second edition or should be reprinted, please put it in the comments down below. We'd love to hear about that. But for now, you all have a good night.